The round of 16 of football's most anticipated competition at club level has now concluded its first leg, and today we are going to be talking about who I believe will make it to the quarterfinals and how I think they're going to make it. Now guys, before I get started, obviously this is going to be a very exciting video. We're going to be talking about everybody's favorite teams. We're going to be talking about some sleeper picks to make it to the quarterfinals, and we're going to be analyzing some upset picks that I've heard people talk about online, but also maybe some upset picks that I've picked myself. So before we get into that, please make sure to like and subscribe. Every single like and comment helps. Please leave your predictions down in the comments. You know, it does help at the end of the day. So let's get started with the round of 16 leg 2 predictions. Now, this is what the bracket is currently looking like, but let's start talking about the fixtures we had on Tuesday and Wednesday. So, starting off with Galatasaray versus Liverpool, guys. This game was honestly a very, very good game. Not very good display from Liverpool, but a very exciting game just because we all love to see this guy, Victor Osimhen, play such beautiful football. I mean, this guy is literally carrying Galatasaray on his back, bro. I mean, against Juventus, he scored. He scored against Liverpool earlier in the season, and he's kept them alive in the big games when it mostly matters. But today, he actually wasn't the one scoring. He actually is the one who assisted his teammate, Lamina, who scored off of a set-piece corner. Now, the set-piece is something that we see a lot of Premier League fans talk about. You know, they're always talking about the physicality, the set-pieces, etc., etc., etc. You know, that's why it's the most, difficult league to play in, right? Because the physicality. Well, Galatasaray is the one who showed Premier League levels. They showed that they can be physical up top, and they showed that they can control a game and shut out the opposition, pretty much completely nullify them. Obviously, this was a bit of an advantage to Galatasaray since they were playing at home, but overall, I think Galatasaray will be extremely happy with this result. It could have, as you see in my notes, it could have been 2-0, which was what I predicted, but, you know, VAR ruled it out due to some controversial, decision. To be honest, I mean, I don't really see how that's disallowed, but at the end of the day, none of that really matters. It's set in stone. The score was 1-0. And now we're going to have to see what Liverpool pulls up with. But by far, one of the best moments of the match was before the match started, there was a tifo unveiled in the stands showing the Galatasaray fans supporting Victor Osimhen and his beautiful story in football. So that's pretty much what happened in the game. My predictions for the next round between Galatasaray and Liverpool, I do think Liverpool are going to barely scrape by. However, I think it's all just going to depend on who scores the first goal next game. If Liverpool scores the next goal, I think they make it through. If Galatasaray scores the next goal, I wouldn't be surprised if they knock out Liverpool. That's just my opinion. You guys let me know what you guys think down in the comments. All right, moving on to the next game. This was my team, Barcelona versus Newcastle. This was a very stressful game. You know, everybody knew that going back to the St. James's Park after we defeated them early on this year, it was going to be a difficult match. You know, the stands, the fans in the stadium of the St. James Park, dude, they literally are the 12th man. Now, even Premier League fans will tell you that it's probably one of the most difficult places to play in just because of the noise that they make constantly throughout the game, the whistles that they blow, the way they support their team in every single tackle. Literally every single time one of the Newcastle players was tackling a Barca player, it was like they scored a goal, bro. And that's what you're going to get when you play at the St. James's Park, and that's why it was so difficult. There was roughly 52,000 people at the St. James's Park. Obviously, at the Camp Nou, there's a bigger audience there, but we'll see if they make enough noise. Because aside from the Copa del Rey game against Atletico Madrid, when they were going to make the comeback, they really haven't been making much noise. However, hopefully the fans will be there to help support Barcelona game, as this is their first round of 16 game back at the Camp Nou. So very excited for that. The final score ended up being 1-1 Barcelona. It was a dramatic last second penalty from Lamine Yamal, and they denied Newcastle a win. Now, this is a very important goal. Barcelona did not want to come out of this game without a loss. Obviously, they needed a win or at least a tie to take it back to the Camp Nou, because if they would have lost, it would have been so much more pressure when they went back to play at the Camp Nou, and who knows what happens then. You know, maybe Newcastle sees that they're pressuring so much, and then they make a counterattack, and then it's 2-0. And then Barcelona have an even deeper hole to climb themselves out of. But overall, Harvey Barnes played a phenomenal game. Lewis Hall also played a phenomenal game against Lamine Yamal. However, Lamine Yamal was able to get on the score sheet, and we'll see how it goes for Newcastle at the Camp Nou. My predictions for that game, I think Newcastle are going to lose 3-0 to Barcelona. Barcelona have a record of not losing at the Camp Nou, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. And I don't think Newcastle is going to be the team to change that. So I think Barcelona are going to win 3-0. That's my opinion, but you guys let me know again what you guys think. Now on to the next game, Atletico Madrid versus Spurs. Now this was probably the most toughest watch of the entire games of the Champions League this week. Atletico versus Spurs is a matchup we haven't seen in a long time, but when they came back to play here at the Metropolitano, it did not end well for Spurs. Kingsley, the goalkeeper for Tottenham, had an absolute disaster class. For the first goal, Kingsley kicks it out, he slips, then Lookman dribbles the ball, passes it to Alvarez. Alvarez lets it out to Llorente. Llorente slides it in on his left side, and it's 1-0 for Atletico Madrid. The next goal came from Antoine Griezmann after the defender of Spurs made a mistake, Mickey Van de Ven. Antoine Griezmann slides it past the goalkeeper sleekly, and he makes it 2-0. Then comes the goal from Julian Alvarez, which was probably the most embarrassing goal. And after that, the goalkeeper for Tottenham was absolutely not in the right headspace, and the manager decides to take him out of the match, which a lot of people thought was controversial. A lot of people think that if you pick a goalkeeper, you got to stay with him. But at the end of the day, you know, I think the manager might have made the right decision, even though after that, the replacement goalie for Kingsley ended up conceding 2. But he did make a save, so it could have been a lot worse for Spurs. But at the end of the day, Atletico Madrid showed their class, showed how dangerous they can be on counters, and 5-2 was the result it ended with, and I don't see Spurs coming back from this. I think maybe they can get a win at their home stadium, but beating Atletico Madrid 3-0 or 4-0 is going to be very difficult. Take it from a Barcelona fan who just lost to Atletico Madrid in the Copa del Rey. It's not going to be easy to beat Atletico Madrid, so I have Atletico Madrid going through to the quarterfinals, and I'm going to give the score to be 2-1 Tottenham. But you guys, again, let me know what you guys think about this fixture. Next, we have probably the most shocking result from this round of 16 first leg, Real Madrid versus Man City 3-0. As a Barcelona fan, I was very annoyed with Manchester City's performance. Pretty much everybody thought that Manchester City was going to be able to get a win. Nobody was really rooting for Real Madrid except for Real Madrid fans. Everybody thought that the Premier League was going to show their class. However, one man was the difference maker this time and in this tie, and his name is Federico Valverde, somebody who has been slept on for, I'd say, quite a while. Even I, as a Barcelona fan, know how class this guy is and how underrated this guy has been. I've been watching every Real Madrid game for the past 2 months, and every single time this guy Federico Valverde somehow saves them or is involved in a play that saves Real Madrid. So, I mean, take that as you will. I genuinely think he's one of the best players in the world. A lot of people are giving him Ballon d'Or shouts. I'm not sure about that. I'm going to have to see a little bit more. But today, he was absolutely class. He bags a hat trick, and the stunner that he puts past Mark Guehi was probably one of the best UCL goals I've seen in such a long time. It was so class. I have here in my notes, Haaland ghosted. In my opinion, I do think he ghosted. I don't think that Haaland had a good game at all. And in my opinion, I think that if Man City want to go through to the quarterfinals, which I think is very unlikely, Haaland's going to have to show up. At the end of the day, it is a team effort. Haaland can't just score every single goal. He has to get some service. And Man City did not play overall, and that's why they lost. In my opinion, I think at the Etihad, Man City might win 2-0. But overall, I think Real Madrid are going to go through. So my prediction for the second leg is going to be 2-0 Man City, and Man City are out of the Champions League. But you guys let me know what you guys think, because I could be completely wrong, and maybe Man City pulls out a masterclass, but let me know down in the comments. For the fixture before, I said it was the most shocking. This fixture was probably the most entertaining fixture out of all of them. PSG and Chelsea were playing at the same time as Real Madrid versus Man City, so I was having some difficulty watching both games at the same time. But once I saw that Real Madrid were winning 3-0, I pretty much just started focusing on PSG versus Chelsea. And I'm very glad that I did, because those last 15 minutes were absolutely insane to watch, especially if you were a PSG fan, which I don't like PSG. I'm a Barcelona fan. I don't like PSG. They've knocked us out of the Champions League multiple times. So I do not like PSG, but this was a world-class performance by PSG. They kept their composure, they put on the right people on the pitch, and they got the result that they needed. Let's start off with the first goal, Bradley Barcola. It was a cross from, I want to say, Ousmane Dembele. I'm not sure who crossed it, but whoever crossed it was a very good cross. João Neves lays it off to Bradley Barcola, who has to make a quick decision and gets a touch on it and shoots it with his left foot. And I'm telling you guys right now, when this guy, Bradley Barcola, unlocks finishing, he will be so dangerous, all right? He's not going to be the best player in the world because I don't think he has the ability to. But he will be extremely dangerous and extremely useful for PSG. Second goal comes from this man. Oh my gosh, Ousmane Dembele. It's a pass from Desiree Doué, and he gets the ball. He makes a cut to his left. He cuts it back to his right, and he takes that shot, hits it far post, and slides it in past the goalkeeper, Jorgensen. Now, this was an absolutely phenomenal finish. A lot of people were saying it was the goal of the first leg of the Champions League. In my opinion, it's still the Valverde finish, but I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people thought that this was the best goal of all the fixtures this week. The third goal comes from Vitinha, an absolutely phenomenal chip over the keeper. By the way, PSG's attack is so lethal. They get the ball, and rather than just shooting it onto frame, Vitinha controls the ball, chips it over the goalkeeper, nothing he could do about it, and it's 3-2. From then on, I think Chelsea were going to just be happy to wrap up the game right there and send it back to Stamford Bridge to see if they can get a result there. However, in the last 15 minutes, this man, Leg Ucl Round, gets the ball, and he just gives an absolute thunder rocket to the far post. And guys, this was one of the best shots I've seen all season, bro. And I am not surprised it comes from this guy, Leg Ucl Round, bro. He's been on fire even since last season. He's had a little bit of rough patches, but I've always loved the way this guy plays. He plays with such ferocity. He plays with such finesse. And the way he bends that into the far post, no goalkeeper is saving that. Not even Courtois, not even Joan Garcia, not even Donnarumma. No goalkeeper is saving that. So that makes it 4-2. And at that point, you're thinking, okay, let's just get this match over with, right? Chelsea, they just want to get this match over with. But in the dying minutes of the game, Leg Ucl Round gets another goal, guys. He gets another goal. And at that point, you just got to feel bad for Chelsea because there's probably no way that they can make a comeback at the Stamford Bridge. But who knows? Maybe Chelsea has something crazy in store for PSG, but right now it's not looking too good for the world champion. So who do I think is going to win the fixture in the second leg and make it to the quarterfinals? I think it's going to be PSG, and I think it's pretty obvious. PSG just have so much attacking threat. They have a better midfield, I would say, and the defense is a bit lackluster, and the goalkeeper as well. But like we've seen with Chelsea's goalkeeper, they're not that good either. So I think PSG are going to win the match against Chelsea. I think they're going to win 3-2. That's just my opinion. I think it's going to be a very high-scoring game, very intense game. Maybe Chelsea gets 2 goals early on, but then PSG are just going to start laying so much goals down, and it's going to be hard to stop them. But that's just my opinion. You guys let me know what you guys think, and let's move on to the next one. The next one is Bodo Glimt versus Sporting. Now, this was such a crazy game to watch. I saw the highlights. I wasn't able to watch this game. But the way that Bodo Glimt plays football is so exciting, bro. And just the story around them. Being a club from Norway, massive underdogs, drawing to Spurs, beating Man City, beating Atletico Madrid at their stadium, beating Inter Milan, knocking them out of the Champions League, and now beating Sporting. This is genuinely one of the best runs from a small club we've seen in such a long time, bro. A lot of people are comparing them to Ajax 2018. In my opinion, I think that if they beat Sporting and if they possibly beat Arsenal, because I do think, a little bit of a spoiler, but I think Arsenal are going to make it through. I think if they can make it to the semifinals, that would be just so insane, bro. I don't even know what I would do, bro. Oh my gosh. Every single one of those players should be extremely proud. I'm not even going to try to attempt to say these names, but the first goal was a penalty, right? The second goal was an absolutely magisterial finish to the far post. It's just a little connect the dots, connect, pass it, boom, finisher. The striker makes a perfect finish to the far post. No goalie saving that from blank point range. And then the third goal was just a classic counter attack. You cross it into the box. The striker crashes the box and you just hit it the top of the net. And it was all she wrote. It was 3-0 at the end of the day for Sporting, and I don't think that they're going to be able to come back in the second leg. Leverkusen versus Arsenal. This one was probably the most boring match of them all. I watched all 90 minutes. It was 1-0 until the dying moments of the game when Arsenal needed it the most. This man, Madueke, he takes it into the penalty box, gets a penalty, and then Kai Havertz converts it, and he gets the draw for Arsenal, which is massive because Arsenal and Barcelona and Bayern Munich, those are the three teams that traveled away and got good results. The other teams that traveled away did not get good results. So Arsenal puts themselves in a very good position to take it back to the Emirates and have a very good game against Bayern Leverkusen. But will they be able to get over the line? It's going to be difficult, bro. I genuinely think it's going to be difficult, more difficult than Arsenal fans think. They just don't have the attack to compete in the Champions League. I don't know, man. A lot of their players just seem very incoherent. Their style of play is very boring to watch. Unless they get set pieces, I don't know how they score. But hey, this is Arsenal and they've been here in the Champions League in these stages, and I think due to the fact that they've lost so many Champions Leagues early on, I think they're going to want to take their opportunity, crush Leverkusen, and then take it to the semifinals if they beat Bodo Glimt, who I think are going to make it to the quarterfinals. But you guys let me know what you guys think. My prediction for the Arsenal versus Leverkusen game, I think it's going to be 1-1, and then maybe one of Arsenal players scores an extra time. Maybe I'll give it to Gyökeres, he scores an extra time, and that's all she wrote. Or maybe you can go to penalties. I'm a bit unsure, but for now, I'll say 2-1 Arsenal, and they barely survive Bayern Leverkusen. Bayern Munich versus Atalanta was probably the most one-sided game of the fixtures we had this week. Atalanta ended it with 1 goal versus Bayern Munich's 6 goals. The goals came from Stanisic, Michael Olise, Gnabry, Nicholas Jackson, Olise again, and Jamal Musiala. And then obviously Alphonso Davies, he got injured again, which is absolutely tragic. I've heard that he might not even play for the World Cup, which that's true. That's just so unfortunate. But after this game, a lot of people were saying Ballon d'Or shouts. And do we even have to talk about the second leg for this fixture? I mean, everybody obviously knows that Atalanta have absolutely no chance of winning against Bayern Munich, especially at the Allianz Arena. But that's just my opinion. So I think it's going to be another 3-4-0 thrashing for Atalanta, and this tie could honestly end 10-1 in aggregate. But that's just my opinion. That's all I have for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you guys are predicting for the second leg. I'm going to try to edit this video and make it as good as possible for you guys. You guys let me know who you guys have winning the Champions League, and I'll come back to this video in my next video and talk about what I missed or if my predictions were even good or bad. But without further ado, I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Take care and peace.